At the World Cup, we will be seeing the best players in the entire world come together to showcase their talent. The likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, Lionel Messi, Thiago Alcantara, Virgil van Dijk, you name it. They will all come together next month for our entertainment. And maybe because a certain World Cup trophy is at stake. But naturally, every tournament some great players miss out due to injury, maybe because their country didn't qualify. And believe me, this World Cup we will miss a lot of absolutely unbelievable players. And in this video I'm going to talk about 10 unbelievable players who will miss out on the tournament. So sit back, relax, enjoy, and let's get right into the video. We're starting off with Erling Haaland, the human cheat code. Personally, if you ask me, I think he's more robot than human, because the way he has been playing this season is absolutely off the charts, unbelievable. Let's be honest, the stuff that he's doing on the pitch should not be legal. 15 goals in 9 Premier League games. That sounds like a normal goal scoring rate for an attacker in the Premier League, which is supposed to be the best league in the world. Well, probably it still is, but his goal scoring abilities with a team around him like Manchester City, just illegal. They should be banned. I'm not gonna lie, they should be banned. I casually forgot that he also scored 5 goals in 3 Champions League games so far, so I don't really think that this is a hot take. I think it's pretty safe to say that Erling Haaland right now is the best striker in the entire world. But unfortunately, when everybody will be battling out at the World Cup, Erling Haaland will be sitting at home watching a lot of his Manchester City teammates battle it out at the World Cup because he's not going. Because unfortunately Norway didn't manage to qualify for the tournament. I have to say they got a pretty tough group with the likes of Turkey and the Netherlands, who finished ahead of Norway, and playing for the likes of Dortmund and Manchester City is way different than playing for Norway. Obviously they got some good players, but it's nowhere close to the level of Manchester City. He scored 5 times in 10 qualifying games, which is a pretty pathetic record for Haaland. It would be pretty decent for most strikers, but for Haaland, pretty average. But his goal scoring record for his country is definitely not average. 21 goals in 23 games. But unfortunately for him and Norway, he won't be adding to that tally in Qatar. Next up is a player that would normally always battle for the Premier League top scorers title. This guy has won the Golden Boot in the Premier League 3 times, but this year it doesn't look like he hit his scoring form just yet. And the player I'm talking about obviously is Mohamed Salah. And alright, becoming top scorer this year in the Premier League, yeah, it's pretty much out of the question. Because even if Haaland gets injured for like 3 months, he will still easily be the top scorer of the Premier League. So that's not a surprise that Salah will not become the top scorer this year. But it's safe to say that so far this season in the Premier League, he had a pretty slow start, just like his entire team. Liverpool are currently in 10th after 8 games, which is clearly definitely below their standard. Salah only managed to score 2 goals this season in 8 games. The likes of McAllister, Rodrigo Moreno, Phil Foden, Ivan Toney and Miguel Almiron have outscored Salah so far this season. So it seems to be an off year for both Salah and Liverpool, and Salah even was kind of responsible for not going to the World Cup with his country Egypt. He missed a penalty in the playoff shootout against Senegal, which meant that Salah and his country will not be going to the World Cup. And we all remember 2018 when Sergio Ramos tackled him in the Champions League final, which also impacted his tournament in 2018. So the next chance of him playing at the World Cup will be in 4 years, when he will be just shy of 34 years old. Next up is his Liverpool teammate Luis Diaz. It's another Liverpool star that will be watching the tournament from the comfort of his own home. And Colombia didn't qualify in quite a devastating fashion, as they weren't able to qualify by a single point, just behind Peru. And this is a shame, because in my opinion Colombia should always be at a World Cup. They always have some fun and great players. In 2014 they were unbelievable. James Rodriguez obviously was the star of that tournament. At the time they also had Falcao, I think was injured for that tournament, if I remember correctly. But he did play for his country in the 2018 World Cup. But unfortunately for Colombia, this year they will not be competing at the highest stage. Next up is Chelsea's PierreEmerick Aubameyang. And is it really a surprise that Aubameyang will not play at the World Cup? Because the only problem is that he declared for a team that probably never even played at the World Cup. So like I said, it's not a big surprise that Gabon didn't qualify for the FIFA World Cup, but it's still a shame that we will not get to see Aubameyang's talents at the highest stage. And in all fairness, things could have been way different for Aubameyang, because he could have been a world champion by now. Because Aubameyang was actually born in France. So if he declared for France, probably they had the striker that they needed in 2016, which would have given them a pretty good chance of actually winning against Portugal. He obviously would have been a part of the 2018 World Cup winning squad. So in an alternative reality, Aubameyang could be a European champion, a world champion. With his goal scoring records, he might have become France's all-time top scorer, cementing his name as one of the best players ever to play for the French national team. But this is all hypothetical nonsense, because in reality, he declared for Gabon, never played at the World Cup, so unfortunately we will not be able to see the Chelsea striker feature at the World Cup. Another striker that we won't be seeing at the World Cup is Victor Osimhen. Osimhen obviously is a Nigerian forward, but in recent years people paid more attention to their kids than their actual squad. But even though they didn't qualify for this tournament, it's about time that we start paying attention to their squad because it's pretty talented. The likes of Wilfred Ndidi, Samuel Chukwueze and Victor Osimhen are all playing for Nigeria, but unfortunately they didn't qualify for the tournament at the end of this year. And I really would have loved to see Osimhen at the World Cup, because this year he and his team Napoli have been absolutely unbelievable, but unfortunately for Osimhen he has been struggling a little bit with injuries since the start of this season. So he only managed to play for Napoli 5 times this season, but he still had 3 goal contributions, which is pretty decent. But if he can stay fit over a longer period of time, last year we've seen what he's capable of doing for the squad, and with the young talented crop of players that Nigeria have, I'm pretty sure that a lot of teams will have to watch out for them at the next tournament. But unfortunately for Nigeria, that will not be happening this time around. Next up is Zlatan Ibrahimovic's successor, Alexander Isak. The guy who made the big money switch from Real Sociedad to Newcastle this summer is unfortunately going to miss out on the World Cup as well because his country, Sweden, didn't qualify. Zlatan even came back out of international retirement to help his country, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. And I'm not gonna lie, Alexander Isak was definitely also responsible for his team not qualifying for the World Cup, because in the qualifying games he failed to score a single goal in 2022. But luckily for Newcastle, the 23-year-old found his goal-scoring touch again, scoring twice in 3 games in the Premier League. But perhaps it's a good thing for him that he can focus on Newcastle right now, and when the next tournament comes around, I'm pretty sure that Sweden will qualify again with their talented crop of players. And now it's time to talk about a big-name goalkeeper that will miss out on the tournament this winter. Because Italy and PSG's goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma is probably the most high-profile goalkeeper that will miss out on the tournament. And it still absolutely baffles me that Italy did not qualify for this tournament. 1.5 years ago, they won the Euros, and everybody thought that this was definitely the best team in Europe. So just 1.5 years later, with mostly the same squad, how do you not manage to qualify for a World Cup? But this doesn't seem to be an incident for Italy, because in 2018, they also didn't qualify for the tournament. And if you ask me, I don't think it ever happened that a team failed to qualify for a World Cup, then won a European Cup, and then again failed to qualify for the next World Cup. Italy finished second in their qualifying group just behind Switzerland, which sent them straight to the playoffs, where they were stunned by North Macedonia. North Macedonia prohibited European champions Italy of playing at the World Cup, which is pretty disgraceful for them, I'm not gonna lie. But Donnarumma is still 23 years old, so in 4 years he will still be 27 years old. So for him, he can still wait for a few years, and with his qualities, I'm pretty sure that around that time he will still be Italy's first goalkeeper. Next up is Donnarumma's teammate both at PSG and Italy, because just like Donnarumma, Marco Verratti will not go to the World Cup. Verratti was one of the standout players at the Euros in 2020. It actually was in 2021, but as we all know, it got postponed because of COVID, so Euro 2020 was still the name. But it's a shame that we will not be seeing Verratti at the tournament. He's a classy midfielder, he can also be tough when it's needed. It's a shame that we will not be seeing him at the World Cup, just like Donnarumma with Italy. Next up is David Alaba, who failed to qualify with his country, Austria. The Real Madrid star has won countless trophies in his career. 10 Bundesliga, 6 German Cups, 3 Champions League, a league title in La Liga. And that's not even all, because he won Super Cups, Club World Cups, you name it. This guy has won everything under the sun. And Austria actually is a pretty good team. They always get some decent results. They're always pretty decent at Euros as well. But with recent history in mind, it's actually not a big surprise that they will not be competing at the World Cup, because the last time that they actually competed at the highest stage was in 1988. But in recent years, the Austria team has actually gotten way better, so I wouldn't have been surprised to see them at the World Cup right now, but unfortunately they didn't qualify. And it's a shame that we will not be seeing David Alaba at the World Cup, because this guy is truly a different beast for his country. We know him as a left back, we know him as a center back, but for Austria he has regularly played in midfield as well, and he's just capable of doing that too. So I will definitely be missing Alaba at the World Cup. We briefly spoke about him earlier, but the last player we're going to talk about is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. This year should have been the last chance to see Zlatan at the biggest stage during the World Cup. Zlatan already retired as an international player, but he came back to help his team qualify for the tournament. And apart from his undeniable qualities, this was actually a great idea in my opinion. You might ask, a 41-year-old, what could he still do for a national team? The fact that he's 41 years old, still plays in Serie A at the highest level, and still offered to help his national team qualify for the World Cup is absolutely ridiculous. But his professionalism and leadership qualities are absolutely unbelievable and an asset to every team. Zlatan was pivotal in AC Milan's resurgence, because after he joined the team you could definitely see a shift in the mentality of the players. So it's safe to say that Zlatan inspired AC Milan to win their first Scudetto after 11 years. And for some time it actually seemed to be working with Sweden as well, as they managed to go all the way to the final of the playoff. But unfortunately a 2-0 defeat to Robert Lewandowski's Poland saw Zlatan's World Cup dreams fall apart. And at the age of 41, it's pretty safe to say that he will not be around at the next World Cup. Although you never know with Zlatan, but yeah, this one is pretty certain if you ask me. Guys, that's the video done. Let me know in the comments down below, who do you think is the best player to miss out on the World Cup this winter? And while you're at it, also let me know the best nation to miss out on the tournament. As always, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new to the channel, click my videos on the end screen right now, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.